Welcome back, everybody, to Seek and Surrender on Awakening Airwaves. We are glad to be back.
Yeah.
The duo is back. I'm here. I'm Roslyn. I'm joined by Kayla, as
Hello, hello.
always. And today we're going to be talking about something that I am very passionate about, which is the elements and how the elements kind of represent how we are made. They make us up. Once you kind of learn what they represent, they show up in your daily life, I mean, constantly. And when you can feel that, like, certain elements are maybe a little too high or a little too low, you can especially feel it. And so we'll kind
Mhm.
of talk about what that looks like and how you can work with the other elements to kind of balance everything out. And this is kind of just like a fun teaser in a way because we have our upcoming Awakening Airwaves Summit in September, which you can find the info in the link below to sign up if you want to join. But I will be teaching a class all about the elements during that as well, which will be much more in depth than this. So if this sparks your curiosity, make sure to sign up for that.
Yeah, fun
Okay,
stuff.
how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to get into this topic. It's definitely something I want to learn more about. So I'm also like curious listener here, and I'll be asking some curious questions. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
Hmm.
let's do it. Okay, so we'll jump right in. So, what are the four elements? We have fire, water, air, and earth. I'm sure you have heard there's also ether, but today we will be just talking about the initial four. Um, as we obviously know, these exist in nature. We see them all around us. We breathe the air, we see the fire, cleanse ourselves with water. Our bodies are earth, like everything around us is the elements. Um, and so when we look to nature, we find out a lot about ourselves and how we function. And it's just this beautiful way that kind of Mother Earth shows us how we can be in our ideal balance. So everybody carries the four elements within them. You might find that certain elements are stronger for you by nature than others. Sometimes that can be influenced by your own personal astrology. So depending on what your chart has, it could just be like your sun sign. So I'm a Taurus. I just so happen to be very earthy. I really like nature. I like being outside. It like heals me and all these things. But your chart is also comprised of like a bunch of different placements. So it might be that your chart is full of a lot of like water elements, and you might find that you're very intuitive. You might find that you like going deep into the subconscious, like very transformative thinking. Or you might even have like some real emotional struggles just because that watery element kind of leads you to be super emotional. So that's just an example. So, Kayla, I know you're a Leo. Happy
Hmm.
birthday,
Thank you.
Leo
Leo
season.
season is officially here.
Woohoo! So, sun sign is you're ruled by the sun. So you
Hmm.
are fire. Do you
Yeah.
feel like you tend to be in the fiery element, or do you think
Yeah.
your chart balances out?
I think I'm definitely fiery. Like, especially like passion and creative. Like, I'm not sure if creativity is fire, but definitely like always creating, a lot of passion, a lot of projects. But I do feel like too, like the opposite kind of balances me out, like water.
Hmm.
Like whether I'm drinking it, whether I'm in it, going to the ocean, like it always kind of like calms me down and like it's like what I need or what I go to. So I don't know
Yeah.
if like there's an opposite for every element. Is that the case?
I don't know. I would say I have like personally for me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly earth,
Mm-hmm.
but I find that air really balances me.
Okay,
So
that's
like
interesting.
deep breathing and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like I know someone who their sun sign is an air sign, and to them, water is
Yeah.
like the total balance. So I think it just kind of, you might just have like a natural inclination of like what might help you.
Yeah.
But it is really neat to kind of pay attention to that
Mm-hmm.
because then you can kind of know like, oh, this part of my makeup, this element of my makeup that gets out of balance, I really find like that this other one really helps me. And just kind of keeping track of that to like how you naturally balance is a pretty neat tool.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, so the elements, like they're not just astrological concepts, they are like natural examples, like we said, of how we're made. And it's really neat because it's not just tied to astrology. Like this has been something very rooted in um, cultures for years and years and years. Indigenous tribes talk about the elements.
Hmm.
We have like if you think of like Indian and Ayurvedic
Yeah.
traditions, they are very based on the elements as well. It's just something that has like what's the word I'm looking for?
Universal.
Yeah,
Hmm.
universal across the globe. All cultures kind of understand this in their own kind of unique way. So it's really neat. So let's see here. We'll just jump into each of the elements to kind of give like a brief overview of what they represent. So, fire, like we were saying, it's passion, it is creativity. I think water is also kind of a creative sign as well.
Yeah, makes
They
sense.
kind of all are in their own way, but I think when we think of fire, we think of like the spark of new ideas as
Hmm.
creativity. It's your life force. It's your kind of like your expression, you take action with fire. Um, it's vitality. And when we find it in balance, we can feel confidence. We can feel creative, like you were saying,
Hmm.
driven, like authentically expressing ourselves. And it it's kind of like if you see like the perfect shining of your light. Like you
Hmm.
just feel like in your zone, you feel good in your skin. When fire's out of balance, we can see anger, aggression, we can feel burnout.
Hmm.
Like
That's a
literally
big
the
one.
flame has burned out because we
Yeah.
have pushed too hard into the fire element without kind of using the other things to keep it balanced. Um, we can also see a little bit of like egotistical, somewhat like selfish action through an imbalanced fire element. Um, so yeah, so if you think about your own personal life, like your day to day and how you function, maybe you can think of examples, like maybe jot them down if you're listening, of the ways that you see fire in your day to day life.
Hmm.
Maybe you feel like your spark is a little bit low. Um, that might be a sign that you need to kind of like, nurture the flame within to kind of get back to that joy and creativity and expression that you feel like you're lacking.
What are,
Um, Go
sorry
ahead.
to interrupt, but what are some ways that you can like, if you feel like your fire or flame is low and you want that passion or you need that momentum, like what
Yeah.
are some examples that you could do? Like I know with air, you said like the breath, so like maybe
Yeah.
meditation or breathing. What are some things that you could do to like put more fire into your life, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I always suggest like moving the body.
Mm,
So in a way that's kind of using earth as well, because earth represents the body. But
yeah.
like if we think of like if the fire element is too low, then we can think of exercising, going
Got
outside,
it.
being out in the sun
Hmm.
safely when it's not like 110 degrees outside, obviously. Um, and then also like you can use the breath. I always I think the name is fire breath in yoga, but it's like a quicker paced breathing exercise
Hmm.
that kind of like elicits that um energizing action of
Yeah.
breathing. Things like that. I would kind of suggest just using the body, the breath. Um, and if it's more of like you like meditating, then I would say meditating and visualizing like the sun, a flame, and setting the intention of like, let this meditation fuel my fire
Mm,
and just kind of see what comes through for you as you sit in that space. But yeah, that would be what I suggest.
cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, and I'll mention this at the end too, but every month I offer an elemental energies class and we move through the astrological signs. And so we talk about like the mode and the element. And so it's funny because every month I'm kind of like, okay, you could do this, but you can also use these other elements because everything is really intertwined.
Yeah.
And like with fire, we know that fire needs air to be
Mm,
existing.
yeah.
And so if you have no fire, you might notice also that like your breathing is shallow or, things like that. So it's like just noticing how your entire system is when you feel off
Hmm.
and kind of thinking back to the elements once you kind of know a little bit about them to be like, oh, I think these two are interacting and I can kind of like help create this balance if I do blank.
Yeah.
So,
That's really
yeah,
cool.
it's very neat.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it, and I could go on and on. But we'll move on to water. So, water, like I mentioned before, it's your emotions, it's your intuition. It's also creativity. If we think of like the womb space, we
Mm,
think of literally creating life from there, but also we think of like birthing new ideas and nurturing them. So that's
mhm.
kind of like the creativity of water versus fire.
Like
Fire is,
imagination
yeah,
kind.
like
Yeah.
imagining, visualizing, kind of
Hmm.
like thinking up the beginnings and just really nurturing the idea.
Yeah.
Fire might be the action you take to like fully see it through.
That makes sense.
Um, it's also the subconscious. So I'm like being my mind is going to like the sign of Scorpio. So they're like the deep thinkers. Like they go into the depths of the subconscious. They like the really transformative like
Hmm.
thought and all of that. So water can be a really deep experience when
Hmm.
we let ourselves go there. Um, in balance, we can be deeply empathetic. We can be pretty even keel as we go about our days. Things don't like, freak us out or make us mad and all these things. Um, we can be much more in tune with our intuition and kind of follow our gut more confidently. Um, and we can also just kind of be more in flow in a way. Like you're kind of like just following that intuitive lead. You kind of feel like things are just kind of working out for you and all that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. Out of balance, overwhelm, anxiety. Um, and some things do kind of overlap with other elements as well, because, like, we'll talk about air. When air is out of balance, that can also kind of lead to anxiety and things like that. Um, but yes, overwhelmed, overly emotional. You might feel the need to be withdrawn because you feel like I need to protect myself. I
Mm.
feel very vulnerable. Um, Or, you might, on the other end of the spectrum of feeling so much, you might actually feel emotionally numb. So you might be really disconnected from that water element to the point where you're like, I don't feel anything.
Mm.
And that's always also being out of balance as well. Um, yeah. And then just talking about like examples in nature, obviously we see rain, we see ocean, we see lake, we see river. And what these kind of show us are that state of cleansing. It's that state of following the flow, following the tides, being open to the cycles and rhythms of things. Um, and then in terms of like working with it, any like examples or tools, um, being intentional, like with drinking water, even like something as
Hmm.
simple as that, as being like, I am intending that this water nurture and cleanse me and balance me,
I like that.
and then you drink it. Same thing with like being in the shower, like an intentional shower or bath of just being like, let this water cleanse me, balance me,
Hmm.
um, things like that. But yeah, any questions or anything there?
No, I always think of the elements as so literal, but the way you explain water, like the meanings of it and how it shows up, it's like it's really interesting. Like the
Yeah.
emotions and
Yeah.
the imbalance.
Yeah. And I think too, like, it's also fun when you get in touch with the elements because when things are happening in your world, literally in nature, you can
Hmm.
kind of see the examples that Mother Earth has to provide to us. So,
Yeah,
like, when we think of water, you can think of like a gentle rain versus like a hurricane.
right.
And it's like, what does this show me about me being a human? Oh, it
Hmm.
shows me that I can be, you know, gently purified, but it also shows me that like water can be dangerous and
Yeah.
water can be intense and destructive if
Mhm.
left to be out of control.
Yeah.
Um,
Like when there's too
so
much air.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, air and water. Yeah, it can get kind of tricky,
Hmm.
especially the connection between air and water, as well as like your thoughts feed your emotions feed your
Mm.
thoughts. So
Dang,
it's
that's so
like
good.
you can kind of get in this cycle of like destructive
Yeah, like a tornado
place.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're just kind of letting the negative
Mm.
frequencies and thoughts and all these things kind of just run rampant. It's like you get in that cycle of like just feeling out of it,
Yeah.
overwhelmed, all the things. But yeah, so we'll move on to Earth. So Earth represents the physical body. It's stability, groundedness. It's a sense of like practicality. It's the material world. So you're like everything about your home, your finances, everything that brings you stability. That is the earth element. And when it's in balance, we can feel really grounded, similar to like the others. Like we feel like we won't be knocked off of our balance, like knocked off of our square, knocked out of our rhythm because we have that rootedness into the earth. Um, when it's in balance, we can be more patient and reliable. And we can feel more of like a connection to our physical body. So we can feel like we can kind of tell like when there's tension, or we can tell when, we need to nurture ourselves or
Hmm.
things like that. But when the earth element is out of balance, and I know a lot of people say this about Tauruses, and I'm a Taurus, and like it's fine, like it's true, but like whatever. We can be more stubborn when our earth
Hmm.
element is out of balance. Um, we can be stuck kind of physically and mentally, like that interaction between earth and air. We can
Hmm.
kind of be stuck, like over rooted almost when it's
Mm.
like too much on one side of the scale. We can be overly materialistic if our earth is out of balance. We can be too concerned with, things, money,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And then on the other end of the scale, if we're ungrounded, right? So we're floating around, we don't know how to keep ourselves balanced on the ground, which can also lead to those imbalances of like water, right?
Mm.
Emotion. So if we're just like ungrounded, we're like, oh my gosh, like the water is taking me and I have like no footing.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a possibility. Um, but yeah, so in nature, the examples we see are like basically everything around us, the trees, the mountains, like grass, plants, everything kind of shows us. And I always love to think about and now I'm not going to be able to remember. Oh my God. I think it's called the Koru fern in New Zealand. It's like
Mm.
native to New Zealand. It's this beautiful fern, and it starts off spiraled into itself. And as it comes out from the root, like the middle of the plant, it like starts to unravel. And it's just this beautiful, like, example of how we come to understand ourselves as like
Mm.
this uncoiling of who we are.
Sounds beautiful.
And then once it fully spreads out and the leaves are out, it's like, oh, okay. So once we understand who we are, we kind of uncoil from that place of the
Mm.
plant. It's like we can
Yeah.
fully express and be in our like authentic place.
What a cool analogy. Well, I'll try to show a image of
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'll make sure that's the right name. I'm pretty sure that's the right name. Oh my God. It's like one of my favorite plants. Um, but yeah, so just these ideas of stability. Like when we think of the tree, we think of how the tree has the roots down into the earth. It's like
Hmm.
secured and grounded, and yet it is still reaching for the sky, for the sun, for the cosmos. Like how that represents us individually as people is like we are divine in human form. So we have that physical body that's holding us here, but we have this soul and mind that are connected to the above, and we can kind of traverse both realms just in the example of like the tree.
Yeah.
Um, so if you feel like, you need help balancing your earth, it might be a good idea to kind of meditate with some of those visualizations and like
Hmm.
let things come up for you about how you feel embody. Do you feel that you could embody the tree? And if not, why? Like
Hmm.
what part of it feels off to you? Um,
If
Also we can, oh, go ahead.
if someone were like trying to balance, but they needed more earth, like
Hmm.
more grounding, like I feel like I think of things like yoga or like
Yeah.
body work. Like,
Yeah.
is that a good example of like how
I
you?
would definitely say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Like working with the physical body,
Mm-hmm.
just reminding yourself of your connection to your physical body through
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And I feel like yoga is great, right? Because it's
Yeah.
not just a workout, it's intentional
Mm-hmm.
of like aligning breath and body. Um, but if that's not your thing, like as simple as like taking a walk in nature
Mm-hmm.
and just letting that remind you of your connection to your body and the earth. Um, Yeah, anything physical that resonates with you that makes you feel like you remember your connection to yourself.
Mm.
I mean, that could be like swimming,
Yeah.
kind of like taking in the other elements as well. Um, but yeah, so Earth might be an imbalance that we feel most easily too, because
Mm-hmm.
we are such physical creatures. Like
Yeah.
that's what we know best is how we kind of are in our bodies. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of different tools. My mind like went off on a total tangent, and I'm not even gonna go there because it would be like this whole other thing.
Yeah.
Um, but we will move on to our final element today, which is air. So air is the mind, it's thought, it's
Mm.
communication, ideas, it's perspectives. And you can kind of see how, right, if we think of like um hermetic principles, like all is mind. So all like everything we think and create is related to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know, like my mind is just like ping, 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 going on all these different tangents. But like if we think of Earth, Earth houses all of the elements.
Right.
So Earth houses air, fire, water. Without Earth, they wouldn't be created. Air also, because of mind, because of the power of mind, creates all other elements as well,
Mm.
because of our connection to how they exist in the way that we perceive. Um, and when air is in balance, we have, clear thinking. We are able to not be taken away by our thoughts. Um, we can communicate better. We can have more of an open mind. And we can kind of be a little bit more adaptive and like seeking knowledge
Mm-hmm.
to understand the things in the mind and the things in the minds like of others as well. Um, but when it does get out of balance, like we talked about before, it can be anxiety, it can be like racing thoughts, it can be that we're stuck. Maybe we don't have new ideas. Um, we can be kind of like scattered, we can't focus. Um, and if our mind is kind of out of place as well, when we just talked about earth, we can kind of forget our connection to body as well. So we can kind of be like out of those kind of like out of body
Yeah.
situations where you're kind of like, I just don't feel like I'm totally here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in nature, we can see examples of this. I mean, we breathe the air every second of every day. We can see examples of like the wind and kind of like what we talked about with water, like you can see the extremes of air pretty easily. So if
Mm-hmm.
we think of like a gentle breeze versus a tornado, we can kind of understand how one may be more in balance than the other and how destructive an air element that is out of balance can be. Um, and then, of course, in terms of like how to work with air, that's definitely something of like breath, meditation, um, and really just using the breath to kind of calm the system is like very connected. The breath is so connected with our nervous system. And so when you have tools like square breathing, where you breathe in for a count and you hold it for a count, you exhale for the same count, like things kind of like that, where you're using your mind to reconnect with the body to create balance, that is a great tool as well. But yeah, air is very powerful, and it's the only element that we can't see, quote unquote, in a
Hmm.
way as well. But it's there's so much strength and power within it. There's a lot of potential for air.
Yeah. I feel like air is the element that kind of knocks me off.
Mm.
Like that makes me feel not super grounded. Like how you said, like too much air causes like you're kind of airy and
Hmm.
not like your feet are not on the ground. And
Yeah,
I feel like when I have the right amount of water and earth and just like a little bit of air, that's like my perfect balance personally.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I feel like sometimes I like being very earthy, very grounded, but
Hmm.
sometimes I can be so grounded that like I envision
Mm.
it as like the soil is covering the flame. Like I have put too much in the campfire and
Yeah.
like it's not. And so I feel like when I can have the balance of earth and fire,
Hmm.
everything else kind of feels more aligned.
Yeah.
Um And then usually that relates to like using the breath to like stoke the flame and all the things like that.
Mm.
Water, I feel like it's not that I don't like water. I don't reach for it as
Yeah.
much, which
I'm
is
like that with air.
interesting.
Yeah.
I just don't reach for it. And like I'll be intentional in the shower, and I'll be intentional like with like my beverages that I make. Like I love hot tea, so I'll be like intentional with the tea and things like that. But I don't
Hmm.
go to it as like a healing
Hmm.
experience, which
Yeah.
is interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, so like for anybody listening, just kind of think about it, because you might have variations of how you feel your best and like what
Yeah.
you feel like lifts that up.
I feel
Um,
like too, like sometimes you'll crave things or like
mhm,
yearn for things. And it's like, if you really think about what it is that you're craving and why, it probably boils down to some kind of element. Like sometimes I just
mhm,
want to go like to a desert because it feels grounding.
mm,
Or sometimes I
yeah,
want to go to the ocean because it feels like it like kind of soothes me. So it's just, or like on a hike, you know?
mhm. Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about right now, I'm really craving making a garden and like getting my
Hmm.
hands in the dirt and like
Yeah.
growing things, which after the last like month or two I've had of like
Hmm.
things that have just set my world in a total like spin,
Yeah.
and things have just been crazy. I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense that I'm like,
It
how
makes
do
total
I get
sense.
more deeply into the earth at
Yeah.
this moment so that I can ground and just feel like reconnected again
Yeah.
after some chaos.
Hmm.
But yeah, and it changes. So I wouldn't say like if you're thinking about like what you're drawn to, that might just be for like the time that you're in right now. Like
Right.
always be open to how you'll be drawn in different directions towards different elements,
Hmm.
because it might change in different seasons of your life where one is more helpful to get you in the right balance than another.
Yeah.
But it's very fun. And like I said, like there's so much more to this. There's so much that like can be enhanced, and there's so many tools, and the elements relate to the chakras, and like there's so much that this practice and understanding of the elements leads to. So if you're curious about any of it, like I mentioned before, um, we have the Awakening Airwaves Summit coming up in September. And then if you're interested in my monthly elemental energies class, I'll make sure we have a link to that page as well. But that's also fun because we don't just look at the element itself for the month ahead, we look at the mode. So whether it's fixed, immutable, or cardinal, that gives like a whole different flavor to the energy of that element,
Yeah.
and kind of shows different examples of how that energy can move within us and how we can kind of see it being expressed in the world. Because when we move through like a month, like right now we're in Leo season, so like that's fixed fire, so there's like a lot of creativity and there's like a lot of passion, and there's just like it's that like sustained energy of fire. And
Yeah.
so that's not just something that our Leo sun people experience. Like that's happening out externally in the world right now.
Right.
We're all kind of feeling it. So it's fun to kind of jump into those different flavors of energy just so that we can be aware of how everyone's feeling
Hmm.
and kind of have a little bit more grace for people who might not be as like tuned in. Because, I mean, there's like so much energy around us and it can just kind of, be a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, fun
Um,
stuff.
yeah. I did have an idea for our card pull today.
Okay.
I was thinking of just like pulling it on the spot
Yeah,
and
let's
seeing
do
what
it.
comes up. So I might mix both the energetic alchemist oracle deck and the Rider Waite Smith deck.
Okay.
So we'll do our three cards. So I guess in your mind, listener, watcher, just take a couple breaths and kind of see whether the number one, two, or three stands out to you most. And I'm going to start with number one. And this will just be, we'll say like, what do the elements want us to be aware of? Or maybe even like, depending on what comes through, maybe that's an element that we need to work on.
Hmm.
So we'll just see what comes out. Okay. All right. So first card is the Star card from the Energetic Alchemist Oracle deck. This is feels very watery to me. This is like, they're pouring the water onto themselves. They're submerged in water. And it's this very purified state. So in the journey of the seeker, this is like after difficulties and things like that. They're like coming back into this balanced state, this nurturing state. Um, so yeah, this feeling of water as almost like caregiver. And we have like the children that are actually pouring it into the plants and into the people that are submerged. And it's kind of like maybe water's trying to say in this card to step into like your childlike joy and these feelings of like healthy nostalgia and just kind of the things that kind of make you feel at home within yourself from that childlike space.
Hmm.
Um, that feels very like emotionally driven to me. But what comes up for you with that?
Yeah, I feel like for me it's just about intention. So like
Hmm.
something as simple as water, like based on your intention, it could be healing. It could be like a ritual, even a simple shower, you know.
Yeah,
So these elements are here for you as your tools to navigate life into balance. So
totally.
putting some intention behind it can be like such a beautiful thing.
Very powerful.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So if card number one came up for you, kind of think about that. How you can be intentional, how you can work with water. We'll see what card number two. Interesting. Okay, we have the Two of Cups, another water card.
Mm.
Cups represent water. But this is more of a, well, it could be seen in a lot of ways. So this could be the balance of masculine and feminine and using the water tool or the water element to be your tool to do so.
Hmm.
But this can also be a representation of partnership. So maybe this is nurturing through connection. And maybe there's something emotional in connection with someone else that needs healing that you need to kind of be intentional and aware of and make amends towards kind of repairing and finding resolution with that. Um, yeah, what comes up for you with that?
I think you said a lot of good things for this card, but I think it's also interesting that we've pulled two water cards when
I
we're in the
know.
sign of Leo, because it's
Yeah.
like so fiery and like all this water stuff's coming up, you know? It's
Maybe we need
interesting.
that balance.
Right.
Balance from the fire.
Hmm.
But yeah, so if you picked number two, just think about that. Are there partnerships that need some nurturing? Or is it more within? Is there a balance of that masculine, feminine that kind of needs some assistance in balancing out? Okay, I'll go back to our other deck and pull our last card. So if you chose number three, we'll see what comes out for you. We'll see if it's three for three water. So yes, so it's hilarious that we pick a card that like is also water.
Yeah.
But what's great about this card, though, is that she's got like one foot on the earth. So really, it's all of the elements here.
Hmm.
She's one foot on earth. She has one toe kind of dipping into water. She's kind of keeping the balance. She's holding on to like a tree on the side, if people can see that. So, she's staying grounded. She's staying, rooted in her spot. But what I also love is she has the fire symbol over her heart, the sun symbol over her mind. So that fiery energy is there present. And then also we can infer that air is present around her because she is within air.
Hmm.
And then also we have the snakes on the tree, which is very like above and below, very much that theme of balance. So I guess if you chose card number three, this might be a reminder to you to kind of use your resources to balance out. So you have, like, she has all of her bottles behind her. Like, you have all the tools you need to find balance. And maybe it's just about leaning one way or the other, and really just taking note of how you can use the elements to find that balance. Because it kind of seems like if you picked this card, like you're halfway there. Like
Hmm.
it's not like this person is like falling into the water. Like
Right.
she's pretty balanced. So I would say you're using your tools already and just kind of continue to be inspired to do so.
Yeah.
Um,
I
what
feel
about you?
like all of her movements and her body language here is all intentional. Like she's
Hmm.
like controlled the way she's going into the water and like wearing this. And like even in the background, the sunset looks
Hmm.
like a really fiery hot day and it's like kind of settling down and balancing.
Hmm.
It's a really
Yeah.
beautiful image, actually.
Yeah. I love this card very much.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that's card three for you. And let us know in the comments, what did you pick and how does it kind of resonate with you? Um, some really beautiful messages. But yes, that water during this Leo season seems to be wanting attention.
How interesting.
So keep an eye, people, keep an eye out of how your fire might be uh, burning a little too bright and how
Right.
we might need to balance. But yeah. That's it for us today. And again, just a reminder, check the show notes for information about the Awakening Summit in September. We would love to see you there. And yeah, we will
Yeah.
see you soon. Any last notes?
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway in hearing all of this, like with the elements, is that for me anyway, personally, like I feel like it's one of the most intuitive things that comes naturally to me.
Hmm.
Like so if you're not someone who's super intuitive, like I feel like this one is it'll come easy. If you just kind of
Hmm.
sit with yourself and ask, what do I need? What am I craving? Like usually that's where, the balance comes in. It's like of what you need. And it's so easy to like just be intentional and balance yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like the elements too, like if you're not like super into this work of like whether it's Reiki or just spiritual knowledge and different, lineages and histories and traditions, like the elements are a really kind of neat, basic way to kind of start dipping your toe into it just
Hmm.
by being aware of like once you know kind of what each one basically represents. Um, it's like an eye-opening step into like knowing yourself better, but on a spiritual plane. And like you said, like it's kind of easy to do so once you are aware
Yeah.
and kind of set the intention to like see it more often within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay, everybody. Thanks for being here and happy August.
Yes.
And can't believe it. And yeah, we'll be back next month and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
Bye.